in the cloud. I want to welcome all of you that are here today. We have Brother Donslow. Welcome, my brother. Eric Harrison is back. Thank you, brother. Amen. Dr. Michelle is in the house. Okay. Lady Glennis is in the house. John Merrick is in the house all the way. Bella, aka Linda, who works with the mayor, is in the house. Dr. Sakina is in the house. Melinda McLean is in the house. L. Robinson is in the house. And of course, the one and only Monique Lisa is in the house. Delano is in the house. He's listening, doing some work. Kendra is in the house. Rita Carter, thank you so much, is in the house. Gene Williams is in the house. All right, this is what we have now. And those will be listening and watching the replay. And those that are coming in later, they said, I'll be there. And I said, no problem. Okay, we recording it as well. You have to replay because he gonna be flowing. Okay, we ain't stopping him once he stops. Okay. All right. So listen, everybody. Thank you so much for your prayers. But no further ado, let me present to you and introduce the others. The one, the only. There is no other but this one here. There's no other footprint. There's no other fingerprint. He has marked it all by himself. Maybe he'll tell you how he got in the Guinness's Book of Records. He'll tell you some of these stories. I don't know. But nonetheless, please have it your way, Dr. George Fraser. Thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you so much. Wow. I feel good tonight. Thank you. Just seeing you and seeing this wonderful audience, this prayerful, faithful, blessed audience that you present to us every chance that you get. This is a beautiful thing. I feel very, very good tonight. I really do. Part of it is seeing your smiling face and so many friends of mine on this Zoom call tonight. Um, I'm going to give a talk that I've given. I've spoken 4,025 times around the world over 40 years. I've given this talk because it's requested. Because I always ask wherever I'm hired to speak, what would you like for me to talk about? And I have a list of 5 talks, and they always pick this one, or most of the time they pick this one. And I never get tired of saying it, believe it or not. So, uh, having given it so many times, um, I want to give it tonight. And you'll want to record this, and I know you're recording it. But also on the 17th, you'll see the same talk. Now, every time I do the talk, I add some hot sauce, some pepper, and some spices to it. I don't do them exactly the same, but fundamentally, um, it is the same message. And it's the kind of message that you need to hear 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times. You know, sometimes you'll see a movie and it's so good that you'll want to see it again and again. I mean, you have some time in between. There's certain movies I've seen 5, 6, 7 times. I can almost mouth the words of the script, but I love it. I think you'll like this. And so on the 17th, you'll see the same one. We're recording this one tonight because each one is a little bit different. The title of this talk is The Power of the Human Connection, the 7 biggest mistakes we make when networking that will ruin your reputation and destroy your business. I want to give some context to it before I get into it. Old keys will not open new doors. A house divided amongst itself will not stand. Ain't nobody saving black people but black people. It's been 400 years and we ain't saved. Who in the hell are we waiting for? We're waiting for us to understand completely and deeply the power of the human connection. Oh, yes, we are all drinking from wells that we did not dig. We are standing on the shoulders, brothers and sisters, kings and queens, ladies and gentlemen. We are standing on the shoulders of giants. A 250-year fight for our freedom. From 1619 to 1964, from 1864 to 19, I'm sorry, from 1619 uh, to 1864. All right, a 250-year fight for our freedom. From 1864 to 1964, a 100-year fight for civil rights, voting rights, and public access. We must never forget this. It is the thing that must inspire us. So the bigger question that I want to ask the audience tonight is, are we worthy of that legacy? And if you believe that we are worthy of that legacy, the deeper question is, what then would be our legacy? Now, I'm not talking about baby boomers. I'm a baby boomer. I'm the oldest of the baby boomers at nearly 80. And our legacy is what? Civil rights, voting rights, and public access. That's what our legacy is. I'm talking about Generation X, Y, Z, and Generation Alpha. We cannot allow our legacy to end with the civil rights struggle. What will be their legacy? What will our children's children be saying about them 150 years from now? Quick story. Born and raised in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York. I'm 17 years old, 1 year from graduating high school. No one thought I was college material, so I went to a vocational high school and got a diploma in carpentry. Boy, was that prophetic. I will not expand on that. I'm running the streets of Harlem at 17, Lenox Avenue, right down the street, and 125th Street, right down the street from the Apollo. And there's a young man on the corner on a soapbox speaking. I did not know who he was, but people were gathering around him. So I walked over. Found out later that his name was Stokely Carmichael, who later changed his name to Kwame Ture, married the beautiful South African song stylist Miriam Makeba, and ultimately moved to Africa. But Stokely Carmichael on that day said something so powerful that it changed the entire trajectory of my life. I did not know that at the time, but it burned into my conscious and subconscious mind. I'm going to repeat exactly what Stokely Carmichael said 1962 on that corner. He said, no Black person in this country makes any advancement solely based on his or her talent or worth, that all individual advancement is based on mass struggle, that we make no progress in this world without shedding our blood. Therefore, your advancement and success does not belong to you. It belongs to the people. And if you do not use your success or advancement for the benefit of your people, it is a betrayal of the people who shed their blood for you. We must grow and we must change. But here's two warning signs. You will never change that which you tolerate, and you will only change when you get angry. People do not change when they see the light. People change when they feel the heat. You will change your shoes when your feet hurt. The late, great Nobel and Pulitzer Prize winning Toni Morrison said the same thing that Stokely said, but she said it a little bit simpler. She said, if you are free, you need to free somebody else. And if you have some power, then your job is to empower somebody else. The great African-centered scholar, Dr. John Henrik Clarke from Harlem, mentor of Malcolm X, said, take what you do best and do it for your people. This requires leadership. And as I said earlier, it requires us changing, evolving. Let me say that a different way. The line is longer for those who want change than for those who want to change. Everybody talks about wanting change. Very few will take action to, in fact, change. But leaders understand this, and leaders know how to do this. And I have my own definition of a leader in our culture. I believe to be a leader is to be awake and alert and to be dissatisfied at all times. Yes, we have come a long way, but we have much further to go. Therefore, I am not happy, but I am motivated by a positive anger directed towards positive change. Leadership is influence. Who are we influencing? We are influencing our children, because if our children cannot see the future, they will not pay the price. We're all responsible for the proper upward mobility and education of our children. Leadership is action. It is not some appointed position. Nobody has to appoint you to do right by our people. No one has to appoint you to do right by our families. No one has to appoint you to do right by our community. Leaders also understand that everything begins with words. In fact, when I talk with entrepreneurs, one of the things I say to them is, if you don't have a system, you don't have a business. I don't know what you have, but you don't have a business, something that you can replicate, duplicate, and scale. So leadership is a system. It begins with words, and this is biblical. Everything begins with the word. First, there was the word. From words, that's the first step in the system. Hopefully, something I will say tonight, or something Pastor will say to you throughout our multiple presentations to you over a long period of time, something that he says, or I say, or Delano may say, or Monique may say, will raise your consciousness. Something will make you conscious. Something we say will make you conscious about something that will raise your consciousness. That's the second step. Words and then consciousness. From consciousness, hopefully, you're excited about something that was said. It could be just one sentence, two words, or whatever. But it somehow or another, it turns you on about something. So you get excited. That's called passion. So what are the first three? Words, consciousness, and then passion, something you get excited about. And then from passion, you take action. That's the fourth step. And then it's from action, not just talking, you get change. That are the 4 or 5 steps for actual leadership and change. So we have to be careful, though. We have to change, but we have to start slowly, because direction is more important than speed. Okay? To be a truly successful leader is to understand that you must transcend being good at just functional and analytical or problem-solving tasks. It's critically important, but you got to do more than that. You must be able to build relationships that enable you to create a fabric of personal contacts that will provide you support, feedback, insight, resources, and information. That, my brothers and sisters, is called networking. Leaders understand that the alternative to effective networking is to fail, that you simply will not reach a leadership position, or you will not succeed in leadership without effective networking skills. I've retitled that The Power of the Human Connection. Leaders are great networkers and can work effectively with a diverse array of people, and we all must become leaders through effective networking and understanding the power of the human connection. Genesis 1:31. And God saw everything that he made, and behold, he said, it was good. Do you realize that there's only one time in the Bible, and there are 100,000 words in the Bible, only one time that God was not happy with his own work? And it's actually Genesis 2:18. And the Lord God said, it is not good for man to be alone. I will make him a helper comparable to him. He grabbed Adam's rib and made woman. There's a biblical declaration for the human connection. Again, 800,000 words in the Bible. This is a direct quote from Jesus Christ. Only 1,200 words in the Bible are from Jesus Christ. John 5:30, and Jesus said, I of my own self can do nothing. Now, this was Jesus, the Son of God, and he couldn't get it done on his own by himself in a vacuum. So, what's up with you? Why would you think you could do anything significant, anything worth talking about on your own by yourself in a vacuum? You cannot. God's love of the human connection is very clear, and he gave us two ways to ensure that his children connected. He gave us sex and money. Let me unpack that for you. The aspiration or inspiration for sex is what? Ecstasy. There's nothing on earth that feels like that for us. But that is not the goal of sex. The goal of sex is procreation, to produce more of God's children to serve us and for us to serve. That is the goal of sex. Thank you, God. Then he gave us money. How do we earn money? Through service, through adding value to people's lives. The more service we provide, the more value that we add to a larger number of people, a body of people, the more money we earn. We all saw the little movies of Beyonce practicing her little dancing and singing when she was a young kid in Houston, Texas. And now, if you want to see Beyonce, you can sit in a stadium seat and pay her $250 a head. And if you want to sit down front, you pay a couple of thousand. So she mastered her skill, practiced her skill, and she serves thousands, if not millions, of people. She earns a lot of money. So Malcolm Gladwell, one of my favorite authors, is also one of the favorite authors of our president of Fraser, Delano A. Johnson. Malcolm Gladwell said, the most common attribute of the rich are friends, contacts, and connections. Rich people have a lot of friends. Yes. So let's put it this way. The measure of your wealth is other people. And the human connection is what God wanted from all of his children. Without other people to serve and you to serve them, you have nothing. Nothing. I call the human connection customer service. And for me, customer service is close to a worship service. Why? Because I know one simple thing, and I hope you will learn this tonight, is that many is always smarter than one. It was Horace Mann, the abolitionist and the father of American education, who said something very powerful. Horace Mann said, be ashamed to die until you have achieved some victory for humanity. Do you matter? I was being interviewed by ABC television. Oh, this was several years ago. A sister was interviewing me. And she asked me a question no one had ever asked me. It really stumped me for a little bit. She said, Dr. Fraser, what would you like on your tombstone? I said, wow, I never thought about that. I said, well, on your tombstone, it begins with the year you were born. There's a hyphen in the year you die. That hyphen represents the body of your work. Under that first line, I would like just two words. He mattered. And that's the big question. Do you matter? For what and to whom? That's a question that I want you to think about because it may be the ultimate question of your life. Do you matter? In fact, it goes to a deeper philosophical phrase that Franz Fanon used in The Wretched Earth. And his question that he asked the reader, a deep question, and it is one that I want you to think about. Here was the question he asked his readers in The Wretched Earth. To ask yourself, who am I? Why do I exist? And am I all that I am capable of being? Now, I would never tell you that I'm George Fraser. That's not who I am. That's just a name, and you have to have a name to be referenced. But my name does not describe who I am. My body of work, my legacy, or as my ride and die Delano would say, my brand tells you who am I. In fact, who I am is the theme and the slogan under Fraser Net. I'm sitting in my office. In the left-hand side of me is the lobby of my office in this building. I'm not at home. Uh, and it says Fraser Net on a big blue wall. And under that is really who I am. Fraser Net. Connect, grow, and prosper. So that you can what? Learn, earn, and return. That we have a lot of us learning and a lot of us earning, but not enough of us returning. And therein lies our challenge. So the question that you have to ask is, who are you? Think about that beyond your name. Your name just identifies you, but that is not necessarily deeply who you are. You are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. In fact, the fastest way to change yourself is to hang out with people who are already where you want to be. What am I really saying to you? Don't spend major time with minor people. People going nowhere want you to go nowhere with them. People doing nothing want you to do nothing with them. If you want to change your life, change your relationships. If you are not where you want to be in life, it's because you don't have the right people in your life. Let me say that differently. Business is about relationships. Without relationships, you have no business. Without relationships, you have no business being in business. In fact, the business you're really in is in the business of building relationships. That's the business that you are really in. Let me take that a little bit deeper. The most powerful asset that you will have in the 21st century will not be your computer. It will be your relationships. The most important relationship decision you will make in your life will be your life partner, whether it's a wife or whether it is a husband. That's the most important decision you will make in your life. Fortunately, I made the right decision at 28 years old when I married Nora Jean Fraser. And 52 years later, we're still all that in a bag of chips. This is hugely important because not only will it affect, and effect your life, it will have a domino effect on the culture and the community. Why is that, Dr. Fraser? Because without couples, you have no families. Without families, you have no community. Without community, you have no tradition. And without tradition, you have no culture. I'm writing a book on this called The New Flex, The Existential Crisis of the Black Family. There's been a lot of discussion on this topic on social media based on a video clip that someone recorded and put it out on social media. And I simply said the following. Is there an existential crisis in the Black family? You better believe it. Marriage in our culture, a high in the 1960s of 70%, down to 34%. 71% of our women are not married. 29% of them will never get married. 66% of our men are not married. 39% of them will never get married. 72% of our children are born out of wedlock. And 80% of our children are born to a single parent household. This is not good. It is going to have a profound impact on the culture and our traditions if we do not fix this, because all of the stats and statistics and trends tell us that if we don't fix it, because white folks ain't fixing it, government ain't fixing it, if we don't fix it, within 20 years, marriage in our culture will be the lowest in the country in the teens. And because there are difficulties between our brothers and our sisters, there are a higher percentage of interracial marriages over the last 40 years than ever before. Interracial marriages among the culture right now went from 1% in 1962, 60, I should say, to now 12%. I asked AI, what will interracial marriage, black men marrying white women and black women marrying white men? What will that be by 2060, 2 generations from now? Would you like to know what that statistic is? 45% of black men by 2060 will be married to white women. And 30% of black women will be married to white men. So 75% together, 2/3 of marriages will be interracial. Now, that's an interesting statistic. It's actually congruent with something I've been saying probably for 25 years when people ask me, when will racism end in America, Dr. Fraser? And I say to my audiences, I want to say this and still be loved. And but based on what I'm seeing, we will screw our way out of this. In 100 years, you won't know who's who. You won't know who to call a nigga. If 80 to 90% of our marriages are interracial. But that's where it's going. And it's on us to mitigate that. I've been at this thing called networking for 40 years. 32 years ago, I wrote a book called Success Runs in Our Race, The Complete Guide to Effective Networking in the Black Community, published by HarperCollins 32 years ago. It is a modern-day classic. It is required reading at 57 historically Black colleges. It is the book that started the networking conversation in Black America and ultimately started the networking movement. I'm not bragging, I'm just saying. It is a book that you can still go on Amazon and buy. I mean, other than the Bible and some classics, there are very few books out for 32 years that you can still buy on Amazon. That was the first major magnum opus I wrote on the subject. I then followed it up 10 years later with the book that Reverend Shannon talked about, Click, 10 truths for building extraordinary relationships. This is sort of networking 2.0. And I talked about what networking was and is, where it's going, and what are the mistakes that we make. What are the answers to those mistakes? So I've been at this for nearly 40 years. In 40 years, I've given out 31,000 business cards. And by the way, I think I'm going to start this from the bottom and work my way up to number one. So this is the seventh biggest mistake. It's not the number one mistake, it's the seventh. I've given out 31,000 business cards. Now I don't give out business cards anymore. Now it's all tech. You can just touch somebody's phone and all your information will fall into the phone. That's a beautiful thing. Although I'm OG, I still carry cards. And people used to say to me, Dr. Fraser, anybody that asks you for a card, because I don't give them out, you must ask. Aren't you afraid that people are going to bug the hell out of you and bother you? I said, no, I'm not worried about black people bothering me because I have enough experience to know a very important factor about our culture. Of the 31,000 business cards that I have given out from, let's say, America's Black networking guru, less than 0.1% of everyone I've ever given a business card to will ever, ever, ever follow up. And they asked me for the card. I didn't push it in their hand. I didn't put it on the luncheon table or the dinner table. No, they requested the card. And they never, ever, ever follow up. The fortune is in the follow up. I cannot even begin to tell you how many requested business cards I've asked of selected people over my lifetime and followed up within 24 hours. Just saying, touch and base, thank you for your card. It's easy to do today with text messages and emails and cell phones. No, you don't have to pull out a pen and buy a nice card and then write some nice fancy note in calligraphy and then put it in the envelope and then get a stamp and put. No, you don't have to do that unless it's somebody super special. Follow up is very, very, very important. Please follow up. Don't request the card unless you intend to follow up, because that's where the fortune is. Not asking for the card. It's in the follow up. Follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. That's number 7. That's part of 3 things we do to make a poor first impression. Lack of follow up. So the category of poor first impression would be the 6th mistake that we make. We make a poor first impression. It begins with how we introduce ourselves. Because when you're out and about socializing, you're at a conference, you're at a dinner, you're at a luncheon, people don't have time to hear your life story. You got about 15 to 20 seconds to grab their attention. And the goal of a self-introduction, a good self-introduction, is to give them enough information about you to pique their interest so that they will want to know more about you later, not now. And a good self-introduction under the category of poor first impressions is 5 elements: who you are, where you're from, and what you do. Who you are, where you're from, and what you do. Those are the first three things. The second, or the second part of that, number four and five, are the two most important things. How do you add real value? And then, if you do, quantify it and prove it to me. You see, people are dialed into one radio station when they're listening to you. WIIFM. What's in it for me? That's what they're listening for. So tell them. So let me give you my 20-second self-introduction. 80 years of life in 18 seconds. Hi, I'm Dr. George Fraser from Cleveland, Ohio, by way of Brooklyn, New York. I'm the CEO and founder of Fraser Net Incorporated. I write books and speak on economic development and effective networking. I help people turn acquaintances into friends and contacts into contracts. And over the last 40 years, I've helped nearly 10,000 people secure nearly $3 billion in new business. Good to meet you. Oop, there it is. Now, if that does not pique your interest, we finish our conversation and I bless you and release you and move on. When I say pique your interest, you simply, Dr. Fraser, can I get your business card? Because I certainly don't reach in my pocket and pull out a card and offer it to them. Who you are, where you're from, what you do, how do you add real value, and then quantify it and prove it to me. That's what people are interested in. That's it. By the way, that's 71 words and takes less than 20 seconds to say. And that's all you need to say. Now, do I adjust it every now and then, depending on where I am? And I'll maybe take something out and add something to it. But I try to keep it in a very, very succinct, power-packed soundbite. So, homework. When you get home tonight, I want you to go to bed thinking about self-introduction. Because the brain works in such a way that if you give it a problem when you go to bed and you go to sleep on it, it will work on helping to solve that problem. And you'll come up with some ideas. Because remember, writing shorter is much harder than writing longer. Every single word matters. Who you are, where you're from, and what you do. Now, you don't have to figure that out, but how you add value is critical. Why is that important? Because it is congruent with the purpose of life. And the purpose of life is not complicated because God doesn't make anything complicated. We tend to make things complicated. So let me uncomplicate the purpose of life for you. The purpose of life is to love, to give, to serve, and to add the highest value to somebody or something every minute of every day. That is fundamentally the reason you have been given this time on earth. Right? So I think I gave you the quote from Horace Mann, right? Be ashamed to die until you achieve some victory for humanity. Who you are, where you're from, what you do, how do you add value, quantify it, and prove it to me. Self-introduction. Don't go to a business meeting or where people are gathering and doing business without some way to transfer the knowledge of your business. Now, you can do it with a card, if you still do cards. I do. Or you can do it with some app. Very, very, very simple today. If you are still a card giver, I like giving a card because I like the tactile feeling of a card. Now, I know that there's a fundamental error there because people lose cards. Hell, I've lost cards. So be prepared with both. So I now am prepared for those of person who say, "Oh, can I get your information?" And they show me their phone, and then we tap the phone, and everything you want to know about me goes on their phone. So have some way. Do not go to a conference without some way. If people want to know more about you, you cannot give them the information. In fact, I've had that happen to me many times over the years. I had several brothers and sisters who ran into a bathroom. They were looking for a piece of paper or a pencil on them. They didn't have a card. They ran into the bathroom, got some toilet paper, and wrote their information down on a piece of toilet paper. Really, seriously. You know what I did with that? The same thing you do with toilet paper. Be prepared. Number five, most of us do not spend enough time, Black people, networking. I understood this about 20 years ago, so I'm going to show you this so you don't think I'm BSing you. The company commissioned the Gallup organization, or the people who do all the major studies in this country, to do a longitudinal study, a national study, on the differences between Black people's networking skills and talents and systems and white people. This is the study. You can see it's right here. It says Gallup organization. In here is a 200-page report on the differences between us and them. Now, this was 15 years ago. And what the study showed is that white people spend about 40% of their time working on cultivating, nurturing, and building relationships at work, at home, and in the community. 15 years ago. The study 15 years ago for Black folk said that we spent less than 10% of our time on networking. In fact, 40% of the people in the study actually said, Black people said, that really networking was not important, that our credentials and our degrees and our education was more important than effective networking. Those are important, but they're not more important. I'll explain why in a moment. So spend more time working on your networks. That's what I'm saying to you. That's the point that I want to make. There are three kinds of networks that you're going to have to work on throughout your entire life. First is your personal network. These are the people that love you. These are the people that cheer you on. These are the people that hug you. This is your inner circle, your family. Well, let me qualify the family thing. Relationships are critically important because it's God's way of apologizing for your relatives. You see, you can pick your friends, but you cannot pick your relatives. And we all have some knucklehead relatives in our families. I'm from a family of 11, eight boys and three girls. And I can tell you that there are several in my own family that I blessed and released a long time ago. They were heroin addicts and heroin dealers. And I got the hell out of New York, away from my family. And I didn't even want to, I moved to Cleveland. That's how I ended up in Cleveland. I had an older sister who took me in. But I was not going to live in a brownstone in Brooklyn, New York, with heroin addicts and heroin dealers. I tried to convince my younger brother Joseph to come with me. Let's get out of here, Joe, because this is not good. He refused to leave. He wanted to stay with his brothers. I left. My sister and I left. 5 years later, after moving to Cleveland, I got a message from my older sister that my younger brother Joseph, who insisted on staying in that environment, was killed in a drug deal that went bad. Be careful who you're hanging with. Your personal network is critical. That's your personal, let's call that your network at home. You got to work on that for your entire life. The second network you have to work on for your entire life is your operational network. These are the people who help you to get tasks done in life. And they come in and out, or they platoon in and out of your life. This is your operational network. You help them get something done, they help you get something done, and this is the ebb and flow of life. There are very few people that are still in your life 80 years later. I can count the number of people on one hand that are still in my life 80 years later. That's your operational network. The third is your strategic network. These are the people that are smarter than you. These are the people that will drag you into the 21st century kicking, screaming, and crying. These are the people that are where you want to be. These are the people that can ultimately end up being your mentors and coaches. Earl Graves. I don't know if you know Earl Graves. Earl Graves was the founder of Black Enterprise magazine. He was born 10 years ahead of me in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York. I used to see him going to work when I was a young man. I didn't talk to him, but I really liked the way he looked. He was dressed. He was clean as a hotel chitlin. He always had an attaché case. He was very smart. And he was what I call an arm's length model. I wanted to dress like him and look like him when I grew up. He was a part, in a sense, of my operational network and a part of my strategic network. I have lots of stories, things I always wanted to meet Earl Graves personally. It was many years later that I met him. But let me say that a different way. If you want to meet important people, you have to be where important people are. They ain't coming to you. You have to go to them. And then once you get a chance to touch the hem of their cloth, find a way to add value and to serve them. Don't ask them for something. Don't meet some powerful, important, moneyed person. Say, can you know, the minute you meet him, can you donate $10,000 to my nonprofit organization? Wrong. What's the most powerful 5 words in life? The most powerful 5 words in life is, how can I help you? When you come to the Power Networking Experience and Conference in Atlanta on November the 5th through the 8th, that is what when I teach networking, that is what we ask anyone that we are meeting for the first time. How can I help you? Not, how can you help me? And even if I want you to help me, I would never start with that. I would always start with, how can I help you? Your operational and strategic network. So you've got three: personal, operational, and strategic. Spend at least 25 to 30% of your time, if not 40% of your time, working on that network. It will pay massive dividends over the course of your life, as it has paid massive dividends to me and to those that I have taught. It's one of the core uh, 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 core subjects that we talk about at the Power Networking Conference experience. It's now an experience. The genius of Delano A. Johnson, who's just a branding expert and a design savant, he changed it after 23 years from conference to experience. That's genius. Why? Because people are looking for an experience now. And that makes a lot of sense. That's why you have to have people around you who are smarter than you in their particular subject matter expertise. Number four, and I'm running out of time. I was given an hour, so I'm going to try to stay to that hour because I want to leave a little time for questions and I want to make you an offer that you can't refuse. Number four is that you have no networking system. Everything is a system. A system. What is your system? I've had a system for 35 years. There are 5 things I do every single day, 24/7. Every single day, 365 days a year. There is no day that I do not do these five things, and it has been habitualized. In other words, I do them without even thinking about them. What are those five things? This is a little system. I'll quickly go through it. I send 5 notes every single day to somebody in my network. I have a stack of cards over here. I pick up a card and I'll text them or I'll email them. Some I might even call for the second time because I've already called them if they're on my desk. Every single day, I make 5 phone calls uh, every single day to old friends and family. Stay close to your family, but manage those conversations because they can get very long. Uh, Number three, what's the third thing I do every single day? I make 5 personal contacts to new friends. Number four, I make 5 sales calls every single day to somebody I sold something to, but this time I'm not selling them anything because the last thing I want them to think is that the only time they will hear from Dr. Fraser is when I'm trying to sell them something. No, I'm asking how's your mother? How did Johnny graduate from Morehouse or whatever? Because I always take notes and ask questions when I'm engaging them. And then number five, and this is the most important thing, I make 5 introductions every single day to people who need to know each other. That may be one of the most productive things I do every single day. So that is what you must do. That is how you must effectively network. Develop a system and habitualize it. Now, we're down to the final three. I've got about 10 minutes left. The third biggest mistake that we make is that you bring nothing to the table. You're networking, but you really bring nothing to the table. Let me say that a different way. God will invite every one of you to the table of life to eat. But if the only thing you do when you come to the table of life is eat and you don't bring anything to the table, you will not be invited back. And it goes down very quietly. Nobody says anything. And then when some opportunity comes up, somebody's talking between themselves and they mention your name and the other person says, no, I don't think they really bring anything to the table. And you just won't get the call. But no one says that to you. What do you bring to the table? Are you committed to lifelong learning, personal growth and development, and constant never ending improvement? Are you a subject matter expert? I don't care whether you graduated from college or not. I do not have an earned degree. I have 3 honorary doctorate degrees for my body of work. I have a high school diploma in carpentry. Do you think that stopped me? No. I'm sitting in my office. You see what's behind me? That ain't a green screen. That's 2,500 books in my office, thousands in my home. I read 100 books a year. I read the Sunday New York Times, which counts for 2 books every week. Do you read? Now, you know what they say. You want to hide something from a black man? Put it in a book. Read. Read. The average American only reads 1 book a year. If you make a commitment to read 1 book a month, in 5 years, you will have read 60 books, and the average American will have only read 5. Who's going to be better prepared? You are going to be better prepared. We have a new theme that we are introducing to the conference this year. And the new theme, the new mantra for all things FraserNet is this: excellence is the base, exceptionalism is the goal. Because I believe excellence is overused. Oh, yeah. As a black person in America? Oh, no. You have to come to the table at excellent. It used to be good. Good ain't good enough anymore. You better be excellent, exceptional, or amazing. And once you become exceptional or amazing at whatever you choose to do in life, you will never have to worry about opportunity. You will never have to hunt down opportunity. People who have opportunity will hunt you down. I don't promote myself as a speaker, and I have a robust speaking career. People hunt me down. And again, I'm not bragging. I'm just saying you've got to get exceptional at what you do, but at least you got to be excellent. That's what you bring to the table of life. You're not average. You are amazing. And you're all that in a bag of chips, except most of us don't know that. Most of us don't understand how powerful Black people are. That we were building pyramids and solving complex engineering problems when other cultures were living in the Caucasus Mountains practicing cannibalism. We are God's first people. We populated the earth. Do you realize that the Black woman is the only person on earth with a mitochondrial DNA to make every color on earth? Do you realize that? No other color of people on earth can do that but Black women. That is scientific, biological fact. That is not some exaggeration or something I made up. That is therefore full proof that we populated the earth because we're the only ones, Black women are the only ones that can make every color. That's how powerful we are. And we have melanin in our skin, regardless of how light we are. And I don't want to unpack, and you just zoom this or not zoom it, but you go to Google and research it, or go to AI and ask AI, please list the 8 or 9 benefits of having melanin in your skin. That's how powerful we are. So bring something to the table because you're all that in a bag of chips. There is no excuse. Now, number two, number two, as you get older and wiser, you will understand that your EQ, your emotional intelligence, will be far more important than your IQ. You see, I don't care how smart you are. If you have the personality of a box of rocks, you ain't going nowhere. I don't care. You could have 3 PhDs. You ain't going nowhere. Why? Because emotional intelligence, of course, is the control of your 5 most important emotions: happiness, sadness, anger, fear, and shame. And unless you can control those emotions, that enables you to work with and through other people, all kinds of people. In fact, they want and they pine to work for you because you have the kind of emotional intelligence, empathy, and sympathy, and the masterful use of words that inspires them and teaches them. Your EQ. Now, I don't know if you've studied emotional intelligence. It's a relatively new science. It's about 25 years old, but I recommend this book. Emotional Intelligence 2.0, Emotional Intelligence 2.0. Pick this book up. It's a relatively small book. Read it twice, and it will change your freaking life. That is a peculiarity among our culture. We do not have the level of emotional intelligence because it's learned that we need to do the ultimate thing that we've been talking about for 100 years, right? Unity and collaboration. Unity and collaboration. Uniting, acting as one. Why is that, Dr. Fraser? Because it's easy to break a finger, it's hard to break a fist. The strength is not in the wolf, the strength is in the pack. When will we get that? Well, they don't want us ever to get that. Because once we get that, once there is a united Africa, once there are united black folk throughout the diaspora, game over. There are 8 billion people in this world. Only 7% of them are white. 93% are melanated people, dominated by people of African descent at 1.5 billion, Asian, and then East Indian. So it's on us. Finally, the number one mistake that we make when effective networking. Most people network to get something. You network to give, and as you give, you get. You ain't giving, you ain't getting. If you have nothing, it's because you've given nothing. That you cannot take out of life that which you have not put into life, just as you cannot take out of the bank that which you have not put into the bank. And you don't have to believe me. Going down to Bank of America or wherever your bank is, try to take something out of the bank you ain't put in. And so God has designed the system is we have, let's call it a meta bank of giving. And every time you give, you deposit in that bank. And so I give unconditionally. I don't give you something to get something back from you. I give you to make a deposit in the bank. And so what I need to understand is how can I help you? In fact, that's my question generally with a lot of people is help me understand how I can help you. But here's what the real equation is. Help me, help you, help me. It's a win-win-win. And that's what you're looking for. A win-win-win. Help me, help you, help me. So we do not network to get, we network to give. That's the number one mistake that we make. Because we're not using the 5 most important words when we meet people. How can I help you? Yes, hugely important. Quick ending. I know we're a little bit over time, Pastor Shannon. It's 1 minute past the 1 hour mark. Can I get a couple of more minutes?
Yes, sir. If everybody is okay with him giving it a couple of minutes, can you please just put a 1 in the chat so that we can get that permission from you? We try to keep our
Yes.
integrity there. But if you give us permission, boy, I tell you, it'll be all right? Because it's you that we're bringing value to. If you do, oh,
Permission is good.
there's the ones. There you go, Doctor.
Okay, great. 2 final thoughts. My favorite quote outside of the Bible, you may have heard me say this many times, is a quote by Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius was one of the 5 great Caesars. And it was Marcus Aurelius who said in 600 BC, before Christ, he said that the impediment to action advances the action. What stands in your way becomes the way. Said another way, the obstacle is the way. Where there is no obstacle, there is no way. What is the first thing God does when he gives you an assignment that he feels that you are prepared for? He puts an obstacle in your way. And your job is to find a way over, around, through, and under the obstacle. Stumble, fall, make mistakes, and learn the lessons from that obstacle. And when you learn the lessons from that, you get an attaboy, an attagirl from God, and then you get your next assignment that hopefully you have been prepared for by overcoming the last obstacle. And then what's the next thing God does? He puts an obstacle in your way. And again, your job is to find a way over, around, through, and under those obstacles. Obstacles do not block the path, brothers and sisters. Obstacles are the path. There are some things that you can only learn in a storm. And there are no exceptions to that rule. We must all go through the hills and valleys of life. And it's how you respond to it that will determine your life. Finally, New England Journal of Medicine did a longitudinal study on the 3 most productive periods of your life. Number 3 is between the ages of 60 and 70. I'm sorry, wrong. It's between the ages of 50 and 60. So the number 3 most productive period of your life is between the ages of 50 and 60. The second most productive period of your life is between 70 and 80. And the number 1 most productive period of your life is between 60 and 70. So what does that mean, Dr. Fraser? It means that from 0 to 49, you haven't done a damn thing yet. You're just learning how to do your best work in the final 30 years of your life. You do have time. Make the most of that time. And understand that life is hard. Make no mistake about it. Marriage is hard. Divorce is hard. Choose your hard. Obesity is hard. Being fit is hard. You got to choose your hard. Being in debt is hard. Being financially disciplined is hard. You got to choose your hard. Communication is hard. Not communicating is hard. You got to choose your hard. Life will never be easy, my brothers and sisters. It will always be hard, but you can choose your hard. Pick wisely. Join us at the Power Networking Experience in Atlanta at the Omni Hotel, November the 5th through the 8th. So I'm going to make a special Reverend Shannon offer. And it's good for 24 hours because it's a crazy offer. If you go to the website, you'll see that a conference registration for an adult is $1,500. We encourage you to bring a young person because they should be sitting at the feet of masters. Could you imagine when we were kids, if we had this kind of thing that we could attend to as young kids, where we would be today? So bring a young person, a student, 17 to 25. A student registration is $800. That's $2,300. So we're going to reduce the price from $2,300 for one adult and one young person to $499. $499. Now, you cannot get this on our website. You try to get it on a website, and our website actually will laugh at you. You have to get it through me. You have to email me at gfraser@frasernet.com. G Fraser, Fraser, as you see it on the screen, at frasernet, one word.com. gfraser@frasernet.com. In the subject line, put I'm in Reverend Shannon. I know it comes here from here, and I'll honor it. I'm in. That's all you have to put in the subject line. Reverend Shannon. In the body of the email, just put your full name and your cell number, your full name and your cell number, and I will personally call you. Hell, that's worth the price of admission. I will personally call you and we'll handle our business over the phone. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And I hope you enjoyed it. If there are any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Wow, come on and give me some heart emojis. Give me some reaction here to that powerful, didactic, pedagogy, well-equipped message to you to empower you. Man, if you didn't get something out of that from the master networker himself, coined it, concretized it. Come on, somebody. He even modernized it.
Mhm.
Fraserized it. Come on.
That's right.
So if you have a question, would you please raise your hand? Because I know, as he clearly articulated, that our people want it, but don't want to do the work. It takes a little work to network. All right. So, what is your question? Raise your hand, and we will allow Dr. Fraser to answer your question. Okay. And you should always have a question for the masters if you are on your way to the next level of destiny, because all of this, listen, he didn't put it in a book. He have laid it out for you. And I think that, first of all, who you are, what you do, why you do it, what makes you different, and what you do to make it happen next. All right. Boy, I tell you, that's some powerful information. All right. I see one hand. Eric Harrison, the mic is yours, Mr. King.
Good evening, everyone.
Good
Um,
evening, handsome. Boy, you look GQ up in here, boy. It's great. Great.
hey, look, I'm
What
gonna
can
let
we-
y'all in on something. I look good up here, but I got sweats on down below. But anyway, that's another thing. That's another thing.
I got you.
Um, your presentation was magnificent. The question I have is this: how often, when you first started, did you work on this presentation? How often did you go through it and make it, bake it, and
Yeah,
put it all together so that you can serve it the way that you just did?
that's a great question. And I write,
Hmm.
and you look and sound like you write too. And
Yes.
you know when you write something, you got to sleep on it, and you come back and you read it. And then there's the second iteration. Anybody that does business with me, and Delano can tell you, and others can tell you, that I may write something, send it to Delano or to the team, and I always say V1, version one of what I just written. And then I may send them 2 hours later V2 or tomorrow V3 because
Hmm.
I'm constantly looking for the right word to keep it clear and succinct.
Hmm.
Okay. So what you just heard is
Hmm.
Vision 18, V18.
Hmm.
So, in other words, you start out by doing the best you can, framing your talk.
Hmm.
So, this happened, this talk is at least 25 years old.
Wow.
Okay. And when you give it, you go back and you look at it, and you will always hear something. I could have said that a little bit better, a little bit differently. I could have added this, taken away that, right? So there's many versions. It took almost 2 years to write the Constitution and Declaration of Independence. It went through many iterations to get exactly the right words.
Hmm.
So any good writing, you will have and don't be afraid to revise it, to change it, to tweak it, to frame it exactly the way you feel.
Hmm.
And so writing is hard work. It really is, but it's good work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Thank you so
And,
much.
and absolutely. And by the way, whatever you write, always put on there the version. V1, because if you don't, if you start writing and then sending it to yourself or whatever it is, you'll get mixed up with, well, I knew I tweaked these two
Hmm.
words, but you won't
Hmm.
be able to find, you won't be able to remember them unless you had a version on
If
it.
this office
You'll
was
highlight
zoomed
it.
out, if this office was zoomed out, you'd see paper everywhere.
There you go.
It's paper
There you go.
everywhere.
That's right. That's
Hmm.
right.
Well, I have two questions for you, Doctor. The first one is, can you share like a meaningful connection that transformed your, let's say, career or personal life? That's
Yeah.
the first.
Yeah. In fact, let me get something to prepare for the answer for that. Now, that's a wonderful question. I like that question. And what did I do with it? I'm looking for something here. Let's see where did it go? So you can never find these things when you. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Okay. Um, I talked a little bit about it in the early part of my presentation in my childhood growing up around Earl Graves, who was born and raised in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York, where I was, but he was 10 years ahead of me. And I always wanted to meet him. And I did not get a chance to meet him while I was still in Brooklyn. I had moved to Cleveland. I had gotten several years older, and I was about maybe 25. And I had some really good friends in Cleveland, Ohio. One was a sister named Carol Hoover, who was the head of the Chamber of Commerce in Cleveland, Ohio. And I made it known to her because she was a great networker that someday I would really like to meet Earl Graves. And she put it in her brain. She called me about 6 months later. She said, George, I have a good friend. Her name is Barbara Graves, and that's Earl Graves' wife. And Barbara called me to ask me if I knew any volunteers in Cleveland that could work on a 7-city tour that Black Enterprise magazine is doing And Cleveland is one of the cities. It's one of the stops. And it's a networking tour to talk about networking. So she said, George, you're a great networker. Would you like to work on the committee? I said, not only would I like to work on the committee, I'd like to chair the committee if you don't already have a chair. She said, oh, well, that's a lot more work. I said, count me in. So I became chairman of the Black Enterprise um, uh, uh, special event. I worked on it, put together a committee of 250 people. When Earl Graves showed up 9 months later, because they gave us a lot of lead time, it was the biggest in terms of number of people of all the cities that including New York, where he lived, the biggest turnout of any city. He rolled up in there, and I have a picture on my wall right here. He rolled up in there with the governor of Ohio, clean as a hotel chitlin, smiling. He was shocked. He had a beautiful tie on. He's always well dressed. And I complimented him on the tie. You know what he did? He took the tie off and gave it to me. I didn't ask him for the tie, but that's the kind of guy he was. And then he was super excited and very pleased. So he gave me some accolades and so forth, and gave me his card. But I was not the kind of guy to bug a person, even if I had served them in a good way. The only time I would communicate with him, because I didn't want to feel like I was bothering him, is I would send him articles, newspaper articles that was about Black Enterprise magazine, and I'll put a little personal note on it and send it to him. Okay. Fast forward. Now, remember, this networking event was in 1986. We're now we're now in 1994. 1994. I got a big deal to write a book on networking from HarperCollins, and they asked me, "Do you know any important people who, in fact, will uh, give you an endorsement for this book if you send them a manuscript?" I said, yeah, I know of a particular person that I could send to. I said, his name is Earl Graves. He said, oh, yeah, we know Earl Graves. He was Black Enterprise magazine. So I asked him to send a manuscript to Earl, but I would call him first to let him know that it was coming. And I did. And he got the manuscript. About 2 weeks later, Earl called me up personally. Not a secretary, he called me up personally. He said, I read this manuscript, George. It's outstanding. It's outstanding. And what I want to do, if you'll allow me, is I would like to make this the first book excerpt in Black Enterprise magazine. And then from now on, we're always going to have a book excerpt. But this will be the first one. And because it's the first one and it's outstanding, we're going to put you on the cover of Black Enterprise magazine. There's the book, Success Runs in Our Race. He put me on the cover. That changed the entire trajectory, not only of my book and of my life. You serve, you add value, you find a way to help first. Now, did I know that I'd be writing a book 12, 13 years later? No. No. Did I ask him for anything? No, other than the opportunity to help him and to serve him. Did I bother him and bug him? No. I kept in touch with him. And then that opportunity came, and he was delighted. There's also a picture on my wall. He said, when the official release is and you have the actual book, I want to do a ribbon cutting for this book in my office on Fifth Avenue. I have a picture on the wall right here of that day. Give until it hurts, and then give until it feels good.
Oh, wow. We got another person with their hand up. Kendra Shannon, what is your question?
Hi, good evening. Great teaching tonight. I really enjoyed it. I just have one question. What mindset shifts would you say are essential for someone to achieve, in their personal or professional life? And I ask this as someone who is, just starting their own career um, after, getting my master's, coming into the business. What kind of mindset shifts are essential?
That's a great question, simple answer to it. I talked about it during the presentation. The mindset is very simple, the purpose of life. The mindset is loving, giving, serving, and adding value. Giving unconditionally. That's the mindset. That's the mindset. That is my mindset. To a fault, I was talking with Delano earlier today, and I find it very difficult when people ask me for something or help, and I'm able to do it. I find it very difficult to say no. It's against my core philosophy of loving, giving, serving, and adding value. That's the mindset. The other mindset, subset of the mindset, and I also said, this is Franz Fanon's call to Black people to think, who am I? Why do I exist? And am I all that I am capable of being? And then finding ways to manifest that and bring it to life. And that's your life. That's our life. That's the mindset. Keep it simple.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear.
Wow. And the last one we have is from, that was my daughter too, is from Lady
Yes,
Glenn.
I know. I could tell by that beautiful rounded face. I didn't want to say anything. She's gorgeous. Yes.
Lady Shannon, what's your question?
And by the way, I enjoyed the teaching. It was phenomenal. Um, Wondering, how do you define success, and has your definition changed through the years over time?
Um, so let me be very transparent. I used to think that success, when I was immature, that success was really about me. And maybe, God works in mysterious ways and you learn and evolve. And yes, maybe it was in the earliest stages of life. It was really about me and and what I can do, not only to fulfill my vows, to provide and to protect. So I was very inward focused and constantly measuring my success first. Then, as I got older and wiser, and I've said this a million different ways, it was really we, about we. I coined a term many years ago. It takes teamwork to make the dream work. We have the timber, let us build. Right. So now I measure my success by what I can contribute to the we. I'm in I'm satiated with the stuff that I need for me. Now my moral and spiritual obligation is to give that to we. God didn't give it to just me for me. He gave it to me to give back. So how do I do it? My books, 6 best-selling books, and my speaking. And it's a fulfillment. I mean, it's like when I'm doing that, it's like I'm eating my favorite meal. So, and I may be a little esoteric for you, but that's really how I define how can I serve my people in a meaningful and productive way without being too philosophical and them having to figure it out. I want to articulate the problem without question. We need those who can forecast problems, but most importantly, articulate solutions. So I'm talking about the biggest problem right now, the number one problem, because I have a piece of paper I always keep in front of me. What are the 5 most important things that I believe Black people must focus on in the 21st century? And the first one now is the existential crisis of the Black family. So that's my big thing right now. But not just articulating it, then the sub theme of the book, the existential crisis of the Black family, is a path to restoration. A path to restoration. How do we restore this? And Delano taught me this. If you know anything about restoring something, the number one goal of restoration is you must begin with the original product. So let's say you're restoring a home and it's made out of oak, but it's 150 years old and the oak is rotted. You've got to find out, where did that oak come from? What are the place that it came from? And have another door made of the same oak. It's the same thing. You have to begin with the original content. I love that because we are the original content. We are the original content. Duh. I don't know if I answered your question, but thank you for that.
You did. It was very good. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, I got it.
All right.
Well, listen, everybody, thank you for allowing us some levity on tonight. I'm sure that as I've heard from many of you, that the words were spoken were visceral and you were vacillating. I understand. It happens when someone touches that intellectual strength and sharpen you of who you are. So thank you all for your time tonight. Thank you. As I always say, I'm never going to waste your time. If I got nothing to say, we won't call you over, but we always got something to say. We're just only out of time.
Oh, yeah. I can't
Never
even
out of
imagine
words.
that.
So thank each and every one of you. Dr. George Fraser, thank you so much for your wisdom, your generosity in pouring into all of us, sharpening us, and truly adding value, man. Very, very, very solid. Thank you.
Let me close with one thing. Please, HBO. HBO means what? Help a brother out. HBO, right? Join us at the Power Networking Conference in Atlanta. You got an hors d'oeuvre tonight. At the conference, you'll get a full meal. I promise you that. That's number one. And then my final words for tonight. Die with memories, not dreams.
You heard it right here. Right here at the training, exclusive for you. You have been invited to hear the wisdom. I call it 24 karat gold bars indeed. Listen, I want you to tell your people, all of you that are speaking, all of you that are watching, let others know to go to leaderslivegenerouslysummit.com. They can register for free to see the summit. If they're too busy, we will offer $99 for on demand. So they can pay $99 and look at it on demand for up to a year. All right. And get inspired, get lifted up, and get encouraged. All right. This was phenomenal. I hope we added value. As we always said, that's what we set out to do. Thank you for coming. And those of you that are going to be watching, you heard what he said. Get to the Power Networking Conference. All right. Use what's in the chat. Use what he said and let them know. So I want to see you at the Power Networking. Well, listen, everybody, we thank you, appreciate you, and thank you for your support. You heard what he said, HBO, help a brother out. I love it. I love it. We'll see you tomorrow. We got Delano A. Johnson, the man with the voice, the smooth graphic artist, but he has a voice. All right. You will love it. He'll be here tomorrow. And then, of course, Wednesday, I'm closing us out. Thank you so much for your time. Share it with others and let them know. We'll be here tomorrow. God bless you. God keep you. That is my prayer. Peace out.
Peace out.